Welcome to Sidebar, where you vote on the internet's biggest buttholes. Am I the butthole for not letting my friend borrow my dog? Right before lockdown in the spring, my ex, 38M, broke up with me after I, 33F, found out he was cheating with someone else. We had been dating for about a year at the time. A couple of months before our breakup, my ex found a puppy, and since he's not an animal person and I am, I offered to take the puppy off his hands and find her a good home. Well, as it turned out, the puppy and myself were a great match and grew very fond of each other. Saying she is the joy of my life would be an understatement. I love her so much. And she has made the lockdown and the post-breakup time much easier for me. 2 months ago I noticed that one of my friends had blocked me on Facebook. It broke my heart because we had no argument whatsoever. We weren't that close, but we were still close. As in, we would catch up every couple of months and text back and forth a bit more often than that. After I investigated, I found out that she had blocked me because she was now dating my ex. She is not the woman he cheated with. I felt weird about it and quite betrayed too, because she knew how much I loved him when we were dating. But ultimately I knew it would be useless to disapprove of their relationship or make a scene. So I decided to move forward with my life. My former friend had a dog very similar to mine in both size and looks, Chiweenie. He was much older though. Apparently the dog passed away a couple of weeks ago and my former friend is absolutely devastated over his loss. Recently I got a message on Facebook from my former friend who apparently unblocked me. She was talking about how much she loved her dog and how devastated she was, and how having a dog that looked so similar to him would help her get over his death. When I refused to surrender my dog to her, she said the dog should be hers because her boyfriend found it. After I refused again, she asked if she could borrow my dog for a couple of months. I refused that as well because it's completely insane. My dog is family to me. I wouldn't let anyone borrow a family member of mine. That's insane. Friend said okay and the conversation ended. Later I was notified by a common friend that she made a public status where she's complaining about me not letting her borrow the dog her boyfriend found. That's how she worded it. I'm shocked to see that a lot of people are siding with her. I've received texts from friends in common asking me what was going on, and only a minority seems to side with me. The others are telling me to let her have my dog for a few weeks, that it is no big deal, and since we know she loved her dog, I should also trust her to take good care of my pom-pom. This is so insane. I feel like BoJack Horseman when he's the only one who points out that Vincent Adultman is 3 kids in a trench coat. Am I the butthole? Is the poster nothing but a big butthole? The Reddit community has feedback. Your former friend sounds shady AF. I wouldn't trust someone who, without even talking to you, would date an ex who is a known cheater. Now you told how much you love. Instead she down low blocked you. And it sounds like she only unblocked you to swipe your pup. All because she is now with the ex. You think someone that entitled would give your pup back? No, girl. That is one shady individual and you should just block her. And let anyone who hassles you know if they are so concerned about her grief, they can offer up their own fur baby for comfort. Also, I would be sure your pup is chipped, in case her entitlement seeps into crazy levels and your pup is stolen for her. Not a butthole, obviously. Am I the butthole for using money we earmarked for our 6-month-old's college fund to buy back the exact 1972 Ford Bronco I owned as a teenager? So how to begin with this? I realize that on paper I'm totally the butthole, but when you dig deeper into my motivations, I'm hoping it's more of a gray area than anything else, and maybe even I did the right thing. When I was a teenager, my dad bought me a classic 1972 Ford Bronco. It was my true passion, and I don't recall a memory from high school that somehow doesn't involve that truck. Plus my dad and I would spend hours and hours working on it together, and we went through that especially father/son rough patch when I was teenager. It was always that Bronco that brought us back together. I made a huge mistake and sold the truck when I turned 19, and my dad died of a heart attack 2 months later, so while not logical, I've always felt a karmic connection between the two events. We had a baby in early February. She is our first and the light of my life. My wife is doing well, but she's back at work and she's realized that she hates all the daycares we've tried and really wants to be a stay-at-home mom, and plus she's still very hormonal from delivery, lack of sleep, and breastfeeding, so she's having a rough time and is angry a lot. I guess I need to say this. 2 weeks ago I was driving through our town's warehouse district and saw a Bronco that was pretty beat up but resembled mine. I stopped just for nostalgia's sake and the owner came out and let me take a look inside. My dad and I had glued a wee penny under the dash as sort of security measure, so I just sort of checked and got him if it wasn't my Bronco. I asked him if he'd ever consider selling it. He said actually someone was on I-25 as we spoke from Colorado to buy it for $21,000. I freaked out and asked him if I could buy it right then and there for $23,000. He said if I could come up with the cash. Yes. I had been procrastinating setting up a 529, so I had $12,000 in savings that my wife's parents had given us. I maxed out my credit card to Venmo, and my mom bought down a check for $4,000, and I freaking drove away in my old car. It was like a dream come true. Like a literal dream come true. It needs a lot of work I can't afford right now, but it's mine. Like in my driveway mine. Again, I can't even describe what a joy this is. My wife and her parents are furious with me. They feel I was deceptive, that a real man would have sacrificed anything and everything so my wife could go stay at home with his kids, and that's setting aside that they gave us the money for a college fund. My point is my daughter is only 6 months old. We have 18 years to set up a college fund of her. But this Bronco means everything to me, and if I wouldn't have acted, it would have been gone forever. Now it can be that same connection between me and my kids. To me, it's the literal meaning of happiness. Like I said on paper, butthole. Whole story gray area. How do you guys see it? Is the poster a butthole or not? Reddit says this. Jesus dude, yes, you're the butthole. Who spends $23K without so much as speaking to their spouse first? Buttholes do. Am I the butthole for throwing away my husband's Xbox after he refused to look for our lost dog? This is going to be a little long. Please try to bear with me and understand my situation. Thank you. For starters, I'm a nurse. 35F. I have been extremely busy these past 3 months. Even writing this post is a privilege, and I am having to do this in bits and pieces. I also gave birth to my daughter 6 months ago. I have an 8-year-old son as well. When I am not working, I take care of my children. In January 2019, my son suddenly developed this strong desire to have a dog. He begged and begged for a puppy from my husband. 35M. I protested against that because I had just found out that I was pregnant. Jesus. My husband said that we should let our son have a puppy to teach him some responsibility, and that he would have some practice to take care of his baby sibling. He had also promised that he would help our son take care of the dog. I was absolutely unconvinced, but I had to give in eventually because my husband had already agreed, and I didn't want to cause further fights. 5 days ago, my son had accidentally left the back door of our house open and the dog ran away. These 5 days were also some of the busiest, most grueling days of my work, and I had to take up night shifts because a colleague had fallen sick. Our son first went to my husband for help. He refused to help him and said that it was my son's responsibility to care for them, and he has to do something about it himself. My husband has the privilege of working from home. He works at a law firm. He works for maybe 3-4 hours a day and plays Xbox the entire time, and sometimes gets up to check up on our daughter. He literally has no added pressures. 5 days ago, when our son told me in tears that dad won't look for Tippy, I talked to my husband, who said that it would teach our son some responsibility to take care of things in the future, which I found very callous since a dog is a living, sentient being and not a thing. He was playing Xbox when I was talking to him as well. He also said he won't look for the dog or anything. Yesterday, after coming home at night, the first thing I did was unplug the Xbox console and controller and throw it in the trash can. This morning, before going to work, my husband threw a fit when he didn't find his Xbox in the living room. I told him that I'd thrown it away because he was so addicted to it that he couldn't even get up and help our distressed son. When I came back from work, he told me he had found his Xbox in the trash since the garbage truck hadn't arrived then. Now, he's being incredibly snarky, giving me the cold shoulder, and he's angry because his controller isn't working. He also hasn't taken any measures to look for our dog, and our mutual best friend called and said my reaction was incredibly childish. Now I'm spending my free day calling every neighbor of ours, making internet posters and contacting animal shelters and animal control to see if Tippy had turned up anywhere, and consoling my heartbroken son. Am I the butthole? Did OP act like a butthole? Here's what Reddit thinks. Why your husband expected an 8-year-old to go look through town for the lost dog by himself? Because he wanted to play games instead? Well, what a butthole husband and father he is. Your kid won't forget it, that's for sure. Not the butthole. I would have saved the Xbox, thrown out the husband. Am I the butthole for asking a neighbor if she wanted to share food? I'm a 31-year-old single guy who lives alone in an apartment complex. I've lived there for 6 years. My neighbor across the hall, a woman around my age or a little younger. I actually don't know her first name, but I'll call her Katie, lives across the hall from me diagonally, and has for about 2 years. We exchange hellos but aren't friendly, which is how it is with most of my neighbors. So I don't know how to cook, and due to losing one of my part-time gigs, I don't have as much money for takeout anymore. I'm getting really sick of eating cheap fast food or boxed mac and cheese. I'm gaining weight and I never feel great. This is where Katie comes in. I can always smell her cooking in the hall, and it always smells amazing. I know it isn't the other person at our end of our hall cause it's a single old man. I've even complimented it a few times. So I got the idea that I'd offer to give her some money each week to cook a little extra and bring it over to me. Or I can pick it up from her. At night, she's cooking anyway, and then I'd have very presumably delicious food. I asked her the next time I saw her and she looked surprised and said she couldn't because she was too busy. Which didn't make sense cause she cooks almost every day, but okay. The next time I saw her a few days later, I asked her if she was sure and upped the amount I was offering. And she said she was sure and that it was rude to ask me. And that she isn't a housekeeper for hire, and I should get a housekeeper if that's what I want. She also called me a stranger even though we have talked in the halls before. Overall, she made me feel like a big jerk and really embarrassed for even asking her, and a little mad because she was acting like I was being creepy. I wasn't. Trust me. She isn't my type. I think asking her to split cooking was completely outlandish, since she cooks every day anyway, and it wouldn't be hard to make a little more. So, am I the butthole? Is the poster a butthole or not? Reddit says, I absolutely love that he is offended that she called him a stranger. He doesn't know her first name. You the butthole, buddy. Well, leave this poor woman alone. Finally, here's our headline story of the day. Would I be the butthole if I played another One Bites the Dust at my brother's wake? My brother died. He was an incredible, funny guy. I miss him like I lost one of my limbs. Maybe it's stupid, but I want people to remember the person he was. My dad and aunts have been involved in planning his funeral, and they have been planning a very Catholic funeral service. He wasn't Catholic and wouldn't like the very expensive casket, the flowers, the church with a lot of people he didn't know there. He'd think it's way too fancy, way too much. He and I had morbid discussions a lot. Side effect of me being a goth teenager? I guess. He told me he wanted to be cremated and his ashes thrown into a ceiling fan while It's Raining Men played in the background. Obviously not an option. Also, together we made up a funny funeral playlist, including songs like Highway to Heck and Another One Bites the Dust. To remember him, I want to bring a speaker and play Another One Bites the Dust at his wake. I would explain it to the people at the wake and say that I wanted to preserve the person he was. Maybe I could give a speech, or tell the story and explain how he saw death with humor, not sadness. There will be a lot of extended, older family members there who weren't very familiar with him and are Catholic. So I've been thinking maybe not. But I really want to preserve his memory as he was, not what people think he should have been. I think my cousins and sister would get a kick out of it. Would I be the butthole? Is OP a butthole? Here is what the Reddit thinks. I was in a very similar situation with my brother a few years ago, and I would unfortunately have to say you would be the butthole if you did this. It's great that you want to keep your brother's memory alive in the way that you talked about, but the funeral isn't just for or even about him, it's for all your family and friends. And doing this may rub some of them the wrong way. If you want to honor your brother's memory like this, maybe plan your own smaller party/service with people you know would also enjoy remembering him in that way. I hate having to give this verdict, because the fan full of ashes while playing It's Raining Men is one of my new favorite things. Now it's your time to vote on the buttholeness of the headline story. Is the poster a butthole? Let us hear your thoughts. Go to the pinned comment under this video. Please hit the thumbs up on the reply of YDA. You are the butthole if you think the OP could have been nicer. Or press thumbs up on the reply saying NTA. Not the butthole if you are on the same side as OP. Feel free to leave your opinion and reason why you voted for the option you did in the comments section. And join the discussion. For more buttholes, subscribe to Sidebar.